Coming soon. What? Yo, demon, hey!
I use $5.
Hey! Who are you?
Before you don't cook, I use 10 actually. I'll pay you back in 1 week, Baba. Give me money.
Did you even get money for this weekend?
I know.
Too much, man.
Love you. Where is it, baby? Backpack again?
They by the window. Hello.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Well, you in real quick. Awesome. What are we working on today?
um, um, this is my reflection for the trainings I did.
Okay.
Uh, those 4 questions. What are your main takeaways? What was new to your learning? What else do you want to do?
Okay.
And then, how does this information support your work as an early childhood teacher?
So, and do you have the assignment instructions for this one?
I can share you the so-called this is what it looked like for the directions.
Oh, nice. So pretty short assignment. Okay, cool. So that's all. Cool. And then is this have you received feedback for the assignment, or are you still waiting to turn this in?
I'm still like so-called working on it. I did the so-called those 3 activities for it, and then I'm doing the reflection based on it.
Okay.
And I now got a better understanding of what number 3 meant. She was so-called referring back to the previous question.
Cool.
Number 2 here. So, yeah. But like since I didn't really, it was a refresher for me. I don't really know what I would write there for number 3 now.
Tell me a little bit about the activities you did.
So-called from those 3 little activities I did, the first one was mainly about kind of describing the development of the kid, like infants and toddlers. That's what the first one mainly was, and then kind of a little bit of the temperament, and then it had those 10 temperament in there, and then there was the second part of it. The A one was about the developments again in more detail of each.
Okay.
And then the final one, it mentioned about sleep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I feel like number three, I feel like it's more asking like, what do you want to learn next? Where do you want to go from here?
Um, uh,
Like, what would you either what do you want to learn next, or like, what would you do? What do you do differently now that you've learned?
um, um, actually, not really sure how I would answer it, even though like so-called did the training and it's kind of like writing what I may take away from that. Um, yeah, like I don't know how would I answer number three here.
So, how could you tell me a little bit more about the trainings and what you learned from them?
It seems like for one of the sections, it was like go in more detail of each those little four here, the cognitive, social, emotion, language, and physical. And then for from those, it mentioned about sleep too. So yeah, mainly about those four, and then kind of a little bit about those other two I have mentioned there, but mainly about those four development.
Could
So,
you go a little bit more into detail on what it talked about in those four areas?
so one of the sections mainly went back into those different four.
So, like, what did it talk about? Maybe what did the activities talk about social emotion, language, and physical?
Um, because it's so cool. It does go have a talk about learning language and like reading and
Okay.
stuff with those other development and stuff.
Do you have anything more specific that because the everything you're telling me right now is really general.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't know what like yeah, I understand the activities were about these four areas, but I don't know what the activity that doesn't really tell me anything about what the activities were or what they taught.
Yeah. One of it kind of like talk about like tantrums and fears and toilet training, sleep and guidance
Okay.
and stuff. That was yeah for the and then
Okay.
some these trainings have two parts, so like it's many parts to it, but it does talk about those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could see yourself implementing that knowledge and teaching
Mm,
or that already implemented? Like how would you deal with a child having a tantrum in one of your classes?
I meant for the tantrum part, even the so-called those teachers in the classrooms kind of like tell me to let the kid be when they're having a tantrum, try to let them calm down a little bit by
Okay.
themselves, and yeah, instead of
Okay.
really helping them like calm down. Because when they're having some of them having a tantrum, they'll be hitting the teachers, and people
Gotcha.
to be hit, they'll be hitting. So like, it's not really, yeah.
So could you use any of that to answer number three?
From what the tantrum here in the little lesson, they like try to understand what triggered the tantrum in the first place, kind of.
There you go. That's something that you could, talk about how figuring out what triggered it would help you solve the problem.
Okay, so like maybe for this about the tantrums here, for the
Yeah,
number three.
yeah. Something could see yourself implementing. Absolutely.
Mm. For this part, like how would I answer it then? Like if I mention about the tantrum?
Kind of like, recap a little bit about what specifically you learned. Like you just told me figuring out what caused it, and then telling about how you could use that in the class. You told me like, oh, figuring out what caused the tantrum can help you solve it. So just basically recapping it and then saying how you could use it. You don't have to go too much in depth because this is only one page.
Yeah.
So yeah, make a quick little summary would help.
Um. mm, um, okay. Hmm.
There you go. And since you're already like on the second page, I mean, obviously you can like delete the highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need more than that. That's like good.
That would be okay for number 3 here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have much more space to go more into detail.
Okay.
Unless you take out more from number one, but we still got to go to number four.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how does this information support your work as an early childhood?
Mm. For this one, what would I really write for here? Would you know?
So how, like, kind of what this makes me think of is like, because this is about the development of children, right?
Yeah, mainly these 3 trainings was like about the development, like during yeah.
Yeah. So like, I guess how would knowing where children are at developmentally, help you teach them that? Like, because obviously you don't teach a child the same way you teach a college student, right?
Yes, yes.
So like, yeah, what's something that you could put there that would be like, oh, here's how this will help support me. And remember, it doesn't have to be wrong because we're already past our length limit.
Yes, yes. Um, for this, huh? Okay.
So, how do you plan on teaching children differently than you would teach an adult?
Because so called this little 7 A to C was from birth to 36 months. So like from
Okay.
infant when to newborn ish infant to 36 months. This what this training was like birth to 36 months is mainly.
Okay.
Yeah. Um.
How can that help you out? Um,
Uh,
because what age are you going to be teaching?
I'm
Not
at
30 months, right?
that's so called that is like the older toddlers age, like
Okay.
the 18 to 36 months are like the older toddlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what if you saw a student who, was still didn't seem to act more like 36 months than an older toddler.
Mm, uh, for that, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, this one's tricky. You're right, because if the information you got, what there wasn't any information that was over 36 months.
Is the ending for this is to 36 months.
Yeah, so it's a little tricky because you don't really have too much information that will apply to the age group you're looking for.
Yeah, so-called like for this one, if for early childhood, teacher is kind of like for what I'm the right now is for like so-called infant, like preschool or to second grade for this group. But for my little thing here is mainly for younger ones, I think.
Okay, I mean, and like you don't have to, even if you won't use the information, you don't have to tell the teacher that, you can kind of make up something and be like, oh, I could see how, like, you just told me about a child having a tantrum
Mm-hmm.
and how that could help you with your classroom management. It's like that kind of answers this question as well. So just kind of thinking of something else, maybe more general, that this training taught you that you could use, that you could see being useful as a teacher.
Um, because so-called like what I learned in this little section for those development skills is kind of like what I'm learning in one of my classes right now too, for some of those development. So
Okay,
yeah.
that's okay. You can use it. It
Um,
doesn't have to be only learned from this class.
um, um, yeah, I really kind of don't know how to answer this.
Do you think that any of the information was useful to you?
Um, hmm. Because so far, like everything within these little three training, it went back to those four development,
Okay.
and then it gave a little bit more detail in some ways to connect it. So called
Okay.
with the toilet training, they gave all four developments
Okay.
of like each thing, and for the fears, of yeah,
For the what? The fears?
yeah, fears.
So tell me a little bit more about that.
In the training for the fears, there's for off not off four. They don't have physical for that, but they have three. Um, for the language part of fear is like how they express and understand feelings and emotions. For
Okay.
social is about their little life experience since they don't have that many since they're very young they don't have much life experience to draw on, and then their independence and for security.
So
And
do you see any of that being useful to know as a teacher?
mm, I think maybe with the fears and the toilet training maybe
Okay.
here,
And how's that?
because I think right now some of the toddlers in my little classroom I'm on the campus at the daycare are doing the toilet training, and then
Okay.
there has been like a few new kids that are like still kind of crying since they're still new to the classroom, so maybe those two
Yeah.
in
There
some
you
ways.
go. That could be helpful to you as a childhood teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, I think this one's kind of hard for me to help you too much with
Yeah.
because it's yours,
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it will be the toilet training and the fears from here. Okay.
Cool.
Um, yeah. Okay. Um, For the what I have for the main takeaway, I'm writing those so-called explaining those little things I have up here.
Okay.
Um, what um for this um now that I look at the little pictures of the train that I took a screenshot of, I know I did mention about sleep,
Okay.
but it seems like I can't find the little screenshot.
So maybe just like, how would you, like, let's say you're teaching and you notice a student is acting just like not great, and you notice that they probably didn't get much sleep. How might you treat them differently versus if it was just like some kid who wasn't acting well just because?
Um, yeah, what you said is kind of what I see. I found that little part of the training here for that sleep. Yeah, what you
Okay.
said is what the sleep part is about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So for that one, what you mentioned is really kind of what is say here too. How would I write that?
You tell me. What would you? How could you explain that? How could you explain using?
Because it kind of mentioned about that SIDS thing, that the sudden infant death syndrome thing also here for that sleep. Because that part, this where the sleep one is, it was in the first section, whereas it is the birth to birth to 8 months, so like the very early stage here. So
Gotcha.
yeah, that's where the sleep was, the
Okay.
very early development. So what? How would I write that for the sleep?
I I'm not sure because it's not like I didn't
Mm-hmm,
learn it. So it's like, all I can tell you is like, you don't have to write too much. I
mm-hmm.
wouldn't overthink it, but whatever you can take from this learning.
Okay, yes. Maybe something like that for the sleep one? Okay. So my number two here, you think is okay for it?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to put something like that, what the sentence you just wrote could go into number two, like, but that's an honest answer, so I don't think it's anything wrong with it. Yeah,
Mm, maybe I can also write something about sleep here too.
there you go. Yeah,
Because I think I just found one about the naps, the different types of naps. Yeah, maybe something like this.
yeah, yeah, that's great. And that does add like a little bit to that. Actually.
Yeah. So, you think it looks okay so far then?
Yeah, I wouldn't overthink this too much. I mean, she literally said less than a page,
Uh-huh.
so I think it's more of a like completion grade than
Okay. Because the other part of it, those little certificates from those training is also part, since I, as a part of the reflection too. So that's a
okay.
credit.
Cool.
Yeah. So it looks okay.
Yep.
Uh, for the other one that's similar to this, I think for my number two would be also kind of like this. What do you think I would need to like write another sentence for that too? For the other one?
I think adding something kind of shows that like you were engaged in it,
Uh-huh.
So it could be helpful, but again, like if it's all reviewed for you
Mm-hmm.
and you're honest, like this is all reviewed for me, then I think it's okay to say this is all
Okay.
maybe talk about like maybe what you could do is be like, I was reminded of this, I was reminded of the importance of sleep.
Uh-huh.
Or like I was reminded of the importance of how difficult potty training, something like that.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then like yeah, number three and four are gonna sound pretty similar,
Uh-huh.
and that's okay.
Okay.
Like it's okay that that's kind of or number two and four especially are gonna sound
Yeah.
But yeah, this assignment I wouldn't like worry too much about, I would worry more about just like making sure you answered all four of them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. So you think what I have is okay so far for it?
I think so.
Okay.
Makes sense to me. Do you have any feedback from your teacher that would suggest otherwise or anything like that?
I'm not from this really I just need to turn it in with the a
Yeah.
little certificate too, and then I so called get the hours for it from this little activity, and then also a grade from after submitting this.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, um. So for the number 4 is I can write about the fear in toilet training here in some way.
Yeah, I think that would be smart.
Okay, then I think I might be okay then for
Yeah,
this.
I think you're doing good. I think you're, going through, making sure you answer each one. So
Mm-hmm.
that's good to hear.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with this assignment then for now. Yes.
Was there anything else you wanted to work on, Mandy?
I think that would be all for today.
Okay. I'm gonna log you out. I'm gonna say we met in person. And I mean we met online.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went over we went over and what is this assignment called?
This is called I can um, shit. This is what it's called. The up there, the Module 3 Gateway.
Okay. I'm just gonna call it the clinical experience program.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Good work. Everything else is going well in your program?
Yeah.
Good. That's good to hear. Are you still doing those like practice teaching?
Yeah. The lesson plan. I will be working on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. If you need any help with that or anything else, let me know.
Yeah. The lesson plan would be. I think would be the next activity if I were to have another session with you. Yes.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And it sounds like that's a kind of important one,
Yeah.
right?
That's the next one for next month.
Okay.
It'll be like later next month. I have to present it. No, it'll be soon. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, have a good rest of your weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye bye.